Coach Helen for YouFit Studio. That'd be me. Right. I called it Restart Your Why. Okay. Now, I could, and I will, firstly do that for the welcoming people. Chris and Kate, hello. We're going through we seem to be going through the alphabet in J's and K's. So the L's should be joining us soon, if I'm out of the alphabet. However, so this week's themes so far, although we know that we're getting into different stuff later in the week already, has been about some of the behaviours of people mentally, or the stories they're telling themselves, the reasons why things aren't happening, and general lack of moving forward. Now, one of the layers to this is to do with your why. Why. Now, for those of you who've been with me since the beginning, firstly, well done. You're on episode 192 of this, so I think I should be sending out some awards. The awards to the most hanging on in there people, going through most of the stuff that comes out of my brain. However, one of the ones under 190 something, and please don't ask what episode, it was probably around about the 80s, guessing, was about why, what your why is. And it was based on, I'm not going to pretend it's mine, it always is, it's about what you learn, and it was based on theories from a guy called Simon Sinek, who, if you don't follow, check him out. He has some very amazing ideas about general stuff in life. And one of them is about the why. And when he was talking about it, actually in his series, talking about, to be fair, he's talking about business. So why do you do things in business? Why do you choose to do things as a company? However, if you take the principles of it and talk about the reasons why we do most things in life, it does actually apply. And that also applies to the reason why you want to lose weight. The pull of it, the passion you have around it, the ground source reason. And in that episode, I did talk about briefly, and I often talk about this, is the epitome of why are you doing this? I want to be a size 10, and how actually if you ask ourselves just how many whys and really get down into it, is that the truth? No, it's generally not. It's usually something deeper that has more emotional pull, etc. Now, why? Why, you might ask, is this coming up again now? Now I'll tell you why, because that's what I'm here for. There's been, how can I put this? Part of the reason that a lot of actions aren't being taken, and stories, someone's own stories for the reasons why not doing something or why they're different, are so prevalent at the moment, is because there is also, unfortunately, for all the reasons we kind of don't need to go into and understand on this, there is the sense where a lot of people are not forward planning. Now, by that I mean, let's take the epitome of of the big ones. If you were planning to get married this year, right? Spend a whole life on that. I'm not, because it's far south for a lot of people. However, it means that a lot has been delayed in terms of social events. And if I take the wedding as being the key one that most people have been impacted by, actually, there's quite a lot, relatives, etc. as well. Take a massive event like that in someone's life where they want to look and feel their best, look at the photos and go, look at me, I was beautiful. And that's just the guys, right? It's true. Now, if it's such a big life event like that, take that as an example and then multiply it. There's lots of events this year that we've missed, yes. However, it also means that there's a lot of future events that we also haven't planned for, right? And by that I mean the wedding's been completely postponed until next year, for example, or anniversaries have been removed or very low key and just immediate family. Anniversaries, birthdays, I'm trying to throw out some stuff. Navaratri, let's be honest, Navaratri is now very low key this year. Diwali, right, is going to be very different this year. All of these social events are going to be quite different. Now, what's interesting is that actually for a lot of clients, and not just as clients, ourselves as coaches as well, as people, we tend to key into very external drive sometimes. I think people tend to be either internal and externally driven when it comes to their goals and how they're, I use the M word, motivated, right? I feel like I wouldn't wash my mouth out. However, most people will either be internally, externally driven, or we'll say, towards a goal, based on what that thing is, right? So let's just break down that a little bit more before I move forward. So again, external is quite straightforward in terms of what I've just talked about. It may be a client is getting married this year. It may be a client is having a big birthday, as in a 40th, 30th, 40th, 50th, right? 60th, not be ages, we've got 60th going on. It may be that actually there is a big event and somebody wants for Diwali, someone wants to wear a dress, etc., or anything, right? Those things are relatively, if someone's passionate about it enough, easy for somebody to anchor to for a reason why they want to look good or lose weight and move forward, right? Now, internally, adversely, those people are interesting. Those people draw on something, on a longevity point of view. They may be driven to something more deeply on a health basis, as in I have diabetes, heart issues, thyroid issues, PCOS, we'll stay on that stream, like very unhealthy periods, looking to sort out things in terms of my fertility, blood pressure, like just anything medical really. That could be in those terms for a lot of people. That's one example of an internally driven goal, because there is technically no end in sight for that, because it's forever moving and it's not fixed. So it's something that a client will internally pull on. Another example of that, because Kate's on ours this one, Kate is here. So Kate is here, and for someone like Kate, for example, she's driven by a future thought of being able to do something with her granddaughter, like bodyboarding, right? Not like bodyboarding, like she's going to be bodyboarding with her granddaughter, hands down, and probably beating her to the wave, to be fair. Now, that again is quite an internally driven and emotive goal, and it draws on somebody looking inside and saying, right, this is something I can keep working towards, this is something I can pull on, this is my reason why. Now, why I've gone with this is that, again, let's just go back a step on the opening of this. So lots of external factors have been removed. So, and the thing is that people aren't actually, when I talk to clients, it's different language for different clients, as you would imagine. However, the theme is that they're not planning anything to share with family. So whilst weddings is really this obvious one, actually there's all the other things that people aren't celebrating that they would normally put an external goal onto or attach it to. And that means that actually when they're asking themselves why they're wanting to do something, they may have the sense that they're a little bit lost with it. In fact, when I'm speaking to people, actually they do a little bit. There isn't that kind of, well, I have to get there by a certain date kind of drive and deadline. Now, that leaves some people a little bit adrift. Let's be honest. If you imagine if you're not in that situation, imagine you are, and if you're in that situation, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Actually, there isn't that kind of pull towards something that you can attach to, because actually most people don't want to, what's the word? A client said, I don't want to disappoint myself by setting myself up to imagine this is going to happen and we're going to get to celebrate this, when in fact we're not. So I'd rather just pretend it's not going to happen. Now, does that mean that that client may or may not be driven in their behaviours towards healthy options with food and training, etc.? Yes, and we've discussed that, and we know the reason why is because of that this client doesn't want to set herself up to be disappointed that the event doesn't happen, so she'd rather not organise it, rather not get herself emotionally tied into driving towards a goal. And equally, that also, by the way, applies to things like holidays. How many of us have actually booked a holiday for an extended period of time that isn't in the UK? Not many. Because why? Because actually we don't want to get involved emotionally in getting excited about something when we might not be able to do it, or something changes, etc., etc., etc. Now, what does that mean? The goals that somebody might have, again, may not be the same as they're used to, because they can't attach that to it, as in, I want to feel and look great on holiday, I want to drive my weight down before holiday because I'm going to go full on this holiday, full party mode. So, you know, that is not existing either. So all the things that people would mark through the year are not there anymore, right? We all know the reason why. Let's not get into that. However, the important point is that if you're in this situation, or any of this is starting to make sense, that the way to look at it, you've got to appreciate there was a reason why you started this in the first place. Now, if you're internally driven, the beautiful thing about for you people is that actually it's a different kind of self-assessment around it, as in it doesn't take much for Kate to be reminded, for example, for a reason, because she'll just look at her granddaughter, or she'll look at a picture, or she'll remind herself and go, oh, this is the reason why I'm doing it. Or if someone has really challenged blood sugars and they want to see how the blood sugars, and they see the percentage of they're on point with a Libra, they go, oh yes, great, I'm there. It doesn't take much for them to pull to keep going forward. And whilst it's important to remind them as well, don't get me wrong, they still struggle from time to time. Actually, if you're externally driven, this is the time to, I'm going to say it, there's going to have to be some internalization of the reason why you're doing things. Now, from experience, and you know, I'm just going to say it how I find it, right? Because it's about causing offence. I might as well say it. In my experience so far, with working with clients who have externally driven factors, sometimes they're not ready to always deep into the emotional reasons why they are looking to become healthier or lose weight. They might not be ready. Now, they might not be ready to share it. That's the thing. So they might know, they might not ready to face it, share it, because it's uncomfortable and painful, and usually it will come with some element of shame or fear of judgment, or like I talked about this week, fear of not being good enough, or fear of something else. And therefore, for those people, it can be more comfortable to attach to a wedding, a family event, a holiday, because actually the real reason why they want to look and feel better might be quite emotive, quite painful, and again, they probably do not want to share, or not in a place to share it. Now, I'm not suggesting that we all get into therapy and dig deep into anything. That's not necessarily the case. Why I'm suggesting, though, that it is dependent on you either reflecting personally or speaking to your coach if you're struggling, if you're somebody who would normally attach to an external goal. Because actually the reality is that there's a pain point. I've talked about this as well. And I will admit it, quote, a fantastic quote from somebody, it's just come to my head. There was always a trigger for somebody starting this journey. Now, the trigger might be very personal, very private, and might not be the one that you shared originally with your coach or even with yourself, or might be a story you told yourself, like I talked about yesterday. There might be a loop playing about why you started this journey that is more comfortable, less emotive, less painful. However, there is one. In my experience so far with every single client I've ever worked with or had at some point in the studio, there is a trigger somewhere that caused them to feel enough pain to want to do something about it. Now, that moment of enough pain was probably very emotionally painful, and that's why most of us don't really want to draw back in it, remember it, right? Because it is painful. However, part of, if you're struggling with this, is facing that to some degree, whether it's privately or with your coach, and actually asking yourself the hard questions like, why? Why did I start this in the first place? Why did I feel bad enough about myself that I had to and needed to use this pathway or go to YouFit? What was it? Because we're always, in the nicest possible way, most people will try a lot of other things before coming to us, right? It just will. It's just natural. So if there was a reason why it was enough pain to come to YouFit, to pick up the phone, to speak to Bath, to book in, to sit down with Sam, which in itself can be quite painful, let's be honest. I sit with him every day now. It's painful. However, there was a reason why you felt the draw or the need to do it yourself. And this is part of what a lot of us have to remind ourselves with, especially at this time when we do not have that external driver, when we do not have the external reason to pull on, the event, the holiday, the big moment. You know, these things are not in plan, and they're not in plan, let's be honest, for at least another 4 or 5 months in reality, if not longer, for most people when I'm talking to them. So the important thing is to get into your why, dial into your why. Now, there's an exercise I'm not going to go through on this live. I've bombed through it before. And if you are my client, etc., then by all means contact me. We can do this exercise to really drill down into what it is, right? And it is uncomfortable, and I've done it with quite a few clients. And does it draw out something? Yes. Is it something they're always ready to deal with? Maybe not. You'll leave them with a reason, something to really challenge themselves on what it is they're looking for themselves in terms of health and fitness, what it is that makes them feel better, right? That makes them feel good enough, that comes from within and not from an external position. And they're make clear as well, either way of looking at things, right, in standard life, if you're eternally externally driven when it comes to your why, it's A-okay. Actually, do you know what? It's A-okay. Because if you can articulate it, you understand it, you have a coach that understands that's how you're driven as well. Cool, right? The challenge is what the situation right now. We've got to appreciate that those things have changed. So that means that how we look at things and how we look at how we drive ourselves have to change with it, because we cannot create or rely or guarantee the big events that we can create normally, externally, socially. And therefore, it's coming back to this, your why. And I want to make one other final point. I didn't get a chance to use that quote. I'm sure I'm going to use it at some point. This is something that I'm talking about today, actually, though, is something that I would always advocate a client to do on a regular basis, either way, right? Because the reason why we do things changes constantly. We always assume it stays the same. We don't stay the same as people, right? That means that the reason our emotions change, our emotions change, right? Our emotions change. The way we view life changes. The way we view ourselves changes. The way we perceive we're viewed by others change. Our environments change, right? If we still not cling on to if we still stick to the original reason why we started to look after our health, actually we've kind of neglected to see how much progress we've made as people and how we may have changed from people from that point as well. Especially if you're doing this for a number of years and tried a number of different routes, the reason why you started this some time ago will not be the reason why you're doing it now. Now, I've talked about this before, and I talked about last live, and for me, my reason why I do things from a professional point of view as well as a health point of view, I've probably done them about 5 times. I'm due to do it again, for sure. I'm due to do it again, because I know that the person I was 12 months ago has changed when I did it last, 18 months ago to 2 years ago. What I look for and want, and my happiness, etc., has changed. And that's the same for every single one of us. What we look for in life will change. What we want in life will change. What we want for our future will change. And if we always base our habits around something we were looking for 2 or 3 years ago, we're always going to end up a little bit dissatisfied and unfulfilled. So that's why it's important to revisit this internal look at why we do things on a regular basis. And then you can always attach that to something internal. Yes, yeah, they both come hand in hand, don't get me wrong. Hand in hand. However, it's important to look at both sides of the coin to understand if you're in a little bit of a drift at the minute. Again, based on the last couple of days I've talked about as well, this is a way of pushing yourself out, essentially. Right, let's do a quick recap, because I believe every single electronic item is about to die from power. It'll be very awkward, won't it? Oops, someone forgot the chargers. Me. Why do you need to do things better, Helen? Remember a charger. This is a why. Remember a charger. So better get on recapping before everything dies. So I talked about restarting your why, right? At the end of the day, all the external things, again, that we're looking for in life and have done before we attach our goals to, have changed or moved into the future or have been removed entirely. That means that if you always work to a goal, like a holiday, an event, anniversary, birthday, etc., you may be feeling in a bit of a no man's zone, or what do you call it? No man's zone? A dead end, a limbo. Why do I do something, right? So it's a point of going back to, just to finish up, a point of going back to why you wanted to look after your health and fitness in the first place. what was the trigger, what was the thing, what was the actual reason at the root, like the tiny grain of sand, right at the core of why you chose to do something over something else at that time, is what is fantastic to dial into. Also important to reassess, right? Constantly reassess. Always work out what it is that you want now as a person and what you want for your health and fitness, if it's something that's always changing, because it is. Ta-da! Done. Also, the lighting died, so we're getting it's like sunset's happening. I'm fighting battery power and light. It's not good. Oh, yay! Tomorrow, I'm talking about accountability. One of my favourite topics, accountability, and what that looks like. And then, like I said, I'm really excited because on Friday I'm doing food again. Food stuff will be here. I even eat some of it, probably will. So join me to watch me eat stuff on Friday. Tomorrow, accountability, and always have a great evening.